Hello, it's Kathleen at Kathleen Elise, and welcome to this week's Level Up Your English, our students only Level Up Your English. This week, I had to do it as a premiere rather than a live stream, so I do apologize for that, but still same great information. So if you have any comments or questions, please put them in the chat and I will check through them and make sure that your questions get answered. So this week, and don't forget to like and subscribe as well. So this week we're talking about, as it's put in popular English, how to context. So we're going to learn all about what context is in English. And we're going to go through some examples, how to use it, what to look for, and then I'm going to give you 3 tips to really give you a solid start on absorbing more context and really knowing what to pay attention for in a conversation or when you're reading anything, so that if there's anything you don't understand, whether it's a word or a phrase you don't understand, whether it's the way somebody behaves or anything like that, anything cultural that you don't understand. Maybe there's a little inside joke about history or something that you're not quite getting yet. You can use the context, you can use to all the bits and pieces of the situation to figure out what's going on, at least to give you enough of an idea to be able to participate in the conversation or understand what it is you're reading. So here we go. So I'm just going to pop my glasses on. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about what context is. And really, again, I just alluded to it. Context is all of the bits and pieces. It's in that situation. So we'll just use a conversation because that's generally when you use it. Writing English would be a little difficult for the live stream to show you. But so, say you have you're talking about something with native English speakers, and you're not quite sure what a phrase is or what a word is. Well, you can look at their body language. You can listen for any changes in tone, whether the voice goes up or down, whether there's the intonation is different than the tone. The intonation is what's the emotion that's behind the words and the sounds that are being made. Is the person angry? Is the person happy? Are they skeptical? Is there a bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Is it like a snide remark, meaning that they're actually trying to hurt the person without actually coming right out and saying what they mean? There's all of those different things that you can listen to and look for, again, facial expressions, and also think about the situation that you're in. Is it in a board meeting? Is it just a casual conversation with friends? Are you, in a particular, are you in a museum talking about paintings and artwork? Are you outside at a music festival? All of those things come into play when you're dealing with context. And so all of these clues give you an idea of, it sort of helps you narrow down what the conversation is about or what the particular phrase is about, things like that. So let me just give you an example, and I will need my glasses for this. So, for example, if someone said to you, "Oh, just take the bull by the horns and get it done." Well, you might not know what "take the bull by the horns" means. However, you can kind of think about the situation. Okay, so you might know what a bull is. It's a male steer, And so they have horns. And so think about situations that might require you to take the bull by the horns. And so to take means in this situation to grab, or to hold on to. You know, I'm taking this cup and I'm going to go away. I'm holding on to this cup and I'm going to bring it with me. Things like that. So that's to take. So why would you take a bull? So let's think this through. So especially if you're talking with an American, you're going to most likely think of a cowboy or a rancher. And a situation where you would need to take a bull by the horns would be to when you have to bring them to the ground to brand them, or in a rodeo, particularly when the championship, again, a rodeo tests a cowboy's skills at the jobs that need doing on the ranch. That's where it began. And so um, again, when you're branding, you have to get that bull down quickly, or you have to subdue him quickly, or else he could gouge you and kill you with his horns. So there's a technique to that, and you have to do it fast and get the job done. So that's the essence of that phrase: to take the bull by the horns and just get the job done. So by thinking through the situation, who are you talking to? What is their nationality? What is their background? What are some cultural things that would be familiar to them that would create that phrase or that word? So that's one example of how you can use context to figure out what the word means. And also, in that situation, in that conversation, just the tone in the voice and the expression on the face. It could be an exasperated look, an exasperated expression with that added little, oh, just do it. That will give you the clue. That's context. So there's one example. So another example that I want to give you is, let's see. Okay, so one of my students that I love working with, so he didn't know what the word fastidious meant. And so I was trying to walk him through it. He likes to guess it. He likes to be the one to figure it out. So I don't give the definition. I ask questions as to help him put those pieces together and figure out what it means. So I asked him 3 questions and he figured it out. So the first question I asked, first of all, I asked him what it meant, if he knew what it meant. And he said he heard that it meant that those people were annoying, so that fastidious people were annoying. So that can be the case, but that's not the meaning. So I helped him. I said, okay, well, let me ask you these questions, or I'm going to give you these examples, and then you can tell me. They weren't questions, they were examples. So I said, a fastidious person is annoyed when things get messy. And I gave him a minute. And then the next one, a fastidious person is annoyed when his schedule gets off track. So I had told him, I said, fastidious people can be annoying, but more likely they get annoyed under these circumstances. So then the third thing I said to him was, a fastidious person can be annoying because of all her specific demands. So I used an example of how a fastidious person can be annoying, but I also gave him characteristics of a fastidious person. And so then he guessed it. He said, so a fastidious person likes to have everything in order and they don't like things to get out of that order. Is that, so I said, perfect. That's exactly what it is. There's a little bit more to it, but that's generally how it's used. And so that was one way. That's another way that you can use context to figure out the meaning. So if someone had used the word fastidious, um, listen for ways that the definition is actually put into the conversation. Um, I'm just trying to think. I should have written down my example sentence there, but if someone says, "Oh, she is such a pain in the neck when it comes to schedules. If I'm a second late, she's so fastidious. If I'm a second late, she gets all bent out of shape." So think about that. What are the context clues around that word fastidious that give you the understanding of the word? So context in English is super, super, super important because we have so many words and so many levels to the different words that we have that have a slightly different meaning or give it more meaning. Um, and they apply to different situations. The reason for that is that English is made up of so many other languages. And in many, many cases, when the new language influence took over, it became such a part of daily life that the words and the phrases and those meanings were never taken away when the next language influence came in and then took over. So all of these different languages and different cultures have had such a dramatic influence on our language that, you know, it's just built up all of these layers of, again, nuance. I really do love that word. I was saying that word, but it's appropriate here. So it's super important to get used to the idea of context in English. Now, I know there are so many languages out there that do not have this concept, of the nuance. So this can get confusing. So there are highly contextual languages, and or high contextual languages and low contextual languages. So English is a low contextual language in the sense that there are so many, let's see, in the sense that each word has a specific place in the language, but you need to understand. You can use context to figure out what the word means, but you don't need to understand the context in order to communicate, if that makes any sense, in order to understand what's going on in the conversation. We're specific when we speak. So you know exactly what's going on as long as you can figure out the words and figure out the meanings. So that's another reason why vocabulary is super important in English. But in a highly contextual language, everything is based on the situation. So, like I said in the last live, I'm learning Korean, and Korean has the same word can mean 5 different things in different situations, and you have to know what situation you're in order to know what the word means. Whereas in English, we have specific words for specific things. So that's not where the word context comes into play here. In English, it comes into play with you're still using the context of the situation to understand what the meaning of a word is, not how the word is used. If that all of a sudden that's not making sense to me, but they are very different. Like I said, English is a low context, low contextual language, meaning we have specific words for things. We're clear and precise on what we mean. Um, and you just have to learn your vocabulary in that sense, in order to follow along the conversation. However, you can use the context to learn those words and to learn those phrases. Okay? That's the best way I can do it for you. All right. If I think of anything, if I think of a better way to do it, I'll write that in the description. Okay. Um, so those are some basic examples, and I really think that um, it, I actually like figuring out things from the context because you learn so much. You learn, um, you just, there's so many layers of things that you learn. I learn more about effective communication just because now I have to pay attention to body language, or I have to listen for the intonation, or I have to, look at the eyes, oh my, the eyes in a speaker tell so much information. Because the person could have a really happy face on, but be very upset about a situation and is trying to handle it diplomatically. And you'll see that the truth in someone's eyes really well. So eyes are a great place to look. And yeah, so I love looking for the contextual clues in a conversation. And it not only helps me with the language itself and learning how to express myself better, but it teaches you so much about communicating effectively. So for example, again, using context to figure out how to respond. If you see that someone is upset when they're talking about a subject that you think you have a handle on, the facial expressions and the tone will tell you that they're upset, and that will give you the clue to say, oh, I better not joke around here. I'm not going to try that new joke I just learned. So and it will also allow you to, okay, if this person is angry and I was going to approach the subject this particular way, then them being angry isn't gonna it's they're not gonna receive it well, so I need to approach it differently. Um, just so many different bits and pieces that you can gather from context, so pay attention. So, what we're gonna do here is I'm just gonna give you some tips. I've got 3 of them here, and I might wander and I might think of more. But the 3 main things that you can do to really hone your skill and get really good at, um, this whole art of context when it comes to speaking English and understanding written English is, first of all, you want to take time to think about situations that you have been in with native English speakers. And just pick one conversation. It could be, maybe you had a talk with your manager this morning, and maybe it didn't go as well as you thought, or you thought, no, this went really well. So what worked and what didn't work? And really think about that in relation to the English language and communicating with an English speaking person. It's so helpful to review situations you've been in and look at what went on in general. Was it a successful conversation in your eyes? Did you get the results you were looking for? And you want to look at, was there anything that didn't work out the way you thought it should, or you needed it to? And then look at, okay, well, what worked? Why did it work? What did I do that worked so well when speaking English? What did the other person do that worked well or gave me the clues? What did not work? And why did it not work? It's important to ask the what and the why, because if you don't know why, how are you going to fix it? You can know that the doorknob is broken, but if you don't ask why, you're not going to approach the repair job correctly. If someone bent it and the shaft is bent, but you didn't bother to figure that out, you're going to spend a lot of time repairing something and it's not going to work because you'll approach it incorrectly. So it's the same with your conversations. And then the other thing you want to do, or another thing you want to do, is you want to think about what are the types of clues that are given. So you have, there's the verbal clues, there's the eyes, there's the mouth, there's, just the smiles. There's different kinds of smiles. There are genuine smiles. There are smiles that are really trying to hide hurt feelings. There are smiles that are trying to hide anger. There's all sorts of smiles. So get used to those different kinds of visual clues. Listen for whether the tone of voice goes up or down in the conversation, and what does that mean? What is it showing about the person who's speaking when they raise the level of their voice and when they lower the level of their voice? Does it rise or does it fall? Are they speaking quickly? Are they speaking really slowly? Are they deliberate in how they speak? Are they careless in how they speak? So many clues just in the tone of the voice. So, and then you have body language. You have so many clues visually, auditorially, and well, I said visually, but that also means so much. How they're standing. There's so many. I could just go on, but you get the idea. So pay attention to those and figure out what they mean. And you can do this one situation at a time so that the next time you're in that situation, you can have this whole toolbox of contextual clues to look out for, and you'll know what they mean and how to use them when the time comes. Okay. So finally, what I want you to do, I also want you to know there's actually an extra one here. So I want you to practice observing people. Just everywhere you are, practice observing. Pay close attention to what's going on in the different situations. In any language, this is super helpful. But if you're in an English-speaking environment, then pay attention to who interacts with whom. How do they interact? What do they interact the same way in a different circumstance? And then really try to figure out why. Just observe everything you can, take it all in, process it some other time if you don't have time right then, but still just take it in, because once you get it into your brain, it's there, and then you can recall it later. It's better if you can recall it and mull it over beforehand, before you get into a situation. But just observe, take it all in, and then really figure out what all these different things mean and how they work together. And context in any situation with people is such an intricate web of or it's like an intricate machine where the cogs all work together in different ways, and this cog turning this way affects this one turning that way. It's so the more you can just observe and soak it all in, the better off you're going to be. Like I said, you want to have a really big toolbox that's full to the brim, and you want to know how to use all those tools. It'll take some time, but you can get started right away. So it's super easy to do. You just have to get used to doing it. So get yourself trained in doing that. Make yourself do it. And finally, I want you to expose yourself to new situations. So many of us, we're in the same situations every day. We go to work, we talk to the same people, we get there the same way, we talk to the same people, we do the same things, we go home the same way. So try a different situation. So if you drive to work every day, well, take the bus one day, or take the subway another day, or walk if you're close enough, or ride your bike, or you know, think of a new way that you can do one thing in your day. If you talk to the same people in the office, well, try, maybe you have two cafeterias in your building. Maybe it's so big you've got two cafeterias. Or maybe you go to the same restaurant every day. Well, go to a different one and talk to different people, or observe different people. But get yourself out of your regular situations and put yourself into a new one. It really doesn't take much extra effort. It might take some planning, if you're trying to get to work, or if getting to work is too much stress, well, take a different way home. Even if you're driving and you have to drive home a different way. See different things. Get yourself exposed to different situations. Take yourself to a museum. If you don't generally go to museums, take yourself to a museum. If you don't generally go to, musical events, well, check out the pub down the street. Maybe they have a live and open mic night. Get the courage to do it and go check it out. Get a friend from work. Talk to a new person. Say, hey, I wanted to check this out to learn my English better. Did you want to come? Anything like that. It's super easy. Again, it might take some courage, but it's easy, and you'd probably be surprised at how receptive people are to helping, especially when you phrase it in the manner that you're trying to get better at English. So there you go. And then I think we've covered all the other things about, so just to recap, when it comes to context, you want to pay attention to the tone of voice and the pitch and the intonation. Does it rise or fall? Things like that. You want to pay attention to this, there's the phrase that you don't understand, or the word that you don't understand. Well, pay attention to the other words around that will help you piece together what that phrase or what that word means. And pay attention to body language and the environment as well. Is it a lively environment? Is the environment feeding the situation, feeding the conversation, or does it have nothing to do with it? So many things about context that you can use to learn what's going on and to learn how to interact in that situation. So, I'm pretty sure we've covered everything today. Like I said, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments. I will make sure to answer them. And just put the word question beforehand. Just type question and then add it. So that will pop it out to me. If you can do it in all caps, great. Anything you can do to pop that out to me, that'd be great. Don't forget to like the video, and don't forget to subscribe as well. So, so we'll see you next week. Live next week, and at noon or 12 p.m. Eastern time. And if this time is really causing a problem for you, let me know. If it works great for you, let me know. And if you have any suggestions, put those in the comments as well. All right, so great day, great session today, and I hope you have a really wonderful week. All right, bye-bye.